Good afternoon. This is me from my safe house, in the Central Belt in Scotland, with some of the Scottish loyalists around me, and I'm now gonna. I think I can hear music in the background, and I might be able to explain that without copyright infringement if I put my hand there for a while. Oh, not sure where that's coming from. It could be in any corner of our globe now. It's the only way that the world is run. And being romantic and all, I would have liked to have made this video in the open air. There is no police station in my current town. It's a really safe house. Oh, sorry. So, romantic aspects. I'm going to explain to you how this lot are involved in the killing of the people at Culloden. You might recognise those villains. That's Cameron of Lochiel, Snowy Cameron of Rothschild Mansion in Tring, aka Nell Gwyn's bloodline, and that is Boris Johnson and his wife, who is Marina Johnson, née Wheeler. And Boris is a massive mobster. He went to the same school as Prince Charles and Rupert Murdoch in Australia, the Geelong School. Going to tell you the whole story of his corrupted career and his links to the Butcher of Cumbria and that romantic song that you're listening to now. That is Boris related to George II of Germany, in inverted commas, of the United Kingdom, in inverted commas. And an entirely integral part of the European mafias. So, that's the light is now penetrating my safe house. So that's the butchery by the German Commander-in-Chief, the Butcher of Cumberland, and the links to Cumberland and Teviotdale that I tell you in every story, which take you into the illegitimacy of the monarchy that Boris is related to, as is Cameron's dad. And Cameron's dad was born with no function in his legs. The gods get to them all in the end. And Cameron's son died aged 10, but we must not dwell on that, because it's kind of sad that he at least has realised that the only way out for him now is to resign. This is the stunning bit of the story. It explains the Edelweiss song. Adele is the nickname for the monarchies in Austria and the dukedoms in Austria and the baronets in Austria that were stripped of their titles in 1919 after the massive cull by the Aryan master race against its neighbours in all of the global field of conflict that represents, the killing of 80 million people. And this is the anthem for the mafias that operate out of Austria still. There are 20,000 elite family members that were stripped of their titles in 1919 who now live on this earth, and all of them want back into power, and most of them are already there running our countries. Alex Salomon Rothschild, out of Salomon Rothschild's Austria and Vienna. And with the killing of the Archduke and his son to launch World War I, and then the treason in the Austro-Hungarian region, where Boris has his relatives, and that is his proud claim that he is represented in his family by all of the false religions that take the world to war all of the time. Boris Johnson. Very simple name. He's now Foreign Secretary in charge of diplomacy. This is the Austrian anthem, with the hammer and for Thor and the sickle for communism on it as the belly laugh for the world's biggest fascists. She's in the cabal. Theresa May, née Brazier, treasurer at Aylesbury Rugby Club. And here we have the group again, and there is Commander-in-Chief, one of the most evil women in the world, Rebecca Brooks. Yeah, and that is the links to all of the corruption that lead to the Leveson inquiry. And all of them are out of the Alpine regions. Yeah, that's the Brooks name, that is Innsbruck, the biggest joke in world history, and the birthplace for Jesus, with no room at the inn. All of the Colditz inmates will be explained. The list of Colditz war criminals is now being reduced dramatically. Yeah, I thought the Dukes of Bucleu were on it, and they are now the link to the Dukes and Earls of Morton that I've led you into in this region. Yeah, that's the Morton 2 tab there. Okay, and we're now looking at the Herzog Austrian nobility. Herzog means fucking Duke in Austria. Yeah, it's a massive set of jokes. Okay, and the reason I got into this is because I went back into Michael Ancram's bloodline the other day. Let me show you that again. It's quite embarrassing for him. He's an old decrepit man. He ran the Irish Terror. He ran the constituency of Devizes that sends NATO's troops to their death. This is his dad, Peter Kerr, 12th Marquess of Lothian, from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Peter Francis Walter Kerr, 8th September 1922 to 11th October 2004, when we had already taken over Iraq and Boris Johnson had insisted on going there to gloat at the triumph. Yeah, that's why he's Foreign Secretary now, because he's so outspoken that everybody but the fascists hate him. Yeah, and he pretends to be a simpleton. They are very sophisticated people. He was the editor of the Spectator magazine that refused to reveal that Bin Laden was educated at the same school as Kaiser Bill, the Rothschilds, and Osama bin Laden, who, and all of them are involved in those Able Danger tabs, in the bringing down of the Twin Towers, the child stealing, the coercion, the running of the massive PricewaterhouseCoopers as a snuff film company to embarrass everybody. That woman that you've just saw, who was the Sun editor and the lover of Andy Coulson, who was David Cameron's corrupted pick to be his intel op, yeah, all of them have nowhere to go now. Okay, so Kerr's Michael Ancram's dad was educated at Ampleforth College and Christchurch, Oxford, yeah, the universities that are immune from bombing in World War II. Okay, Lothian took part in the Wolfenden inquiry into the UK's laws on homosexuality and prostitution in 1954. That's the most innocent part or stanza in this entire story. There is Michael Ancram's mum, Antonella Newland. She's the one on Burkes Peerage with the eye patch. She links into Napoleon's wife's second lover when Napoleon was still alive, and that is the Nieperg family, and we've talked about them before. Yeah. All of that is so that the bloodlines that are totally corrupted and bastardized can continue because of the Salic laws. They need male children if you're going to carry on. Michael Ancram, I don't know what you're going to do about that. Okay, Lady Mary Marianne Anne Kerr, who's the eldest daughter of this woman, yeah, Antonella. Michael Ancram's mum and dad are the people we're profiling here. Their first daughter and Michael's elder sister is Lady Mary Marianne Anne Kerr, born 1944. She married Count Charles of Westenholz. It's really sexy, Westenholz, yeah, and you get not very many hits when you look it up on the internet, because these are now the people that only appear on the Pi Interest web pages. That is the Piso family that launched the Crooked Bible out of Naples, yeah, and that is the Napier joke and all of the jokes about her family being involved in the bigamous marriages of Napoleon's second wife to the people when he was in exile, and all of it is the same Pi Piso joke that is the formation of the Pi Interest page. And all of Prince Harry's lovers include the Westenholz women, and they are one of the favourite bloodlines. Most of them are in Denmark, yeah, the pick for the Rothschilds of the current generation. Yeah, so the Westenholzes are in the Alps, and you can see there that Charles Westenholz, 17th March 1945 to 2006, was a British alpine skier who competed in the 1964 Winter Olympics. So they've become Britons now, like Michael Ancram, yeah, from all over the Austrian Alpine Master Race, and they've got their moniker there just to let them know, us know, that it's them. Yeah. So she married Count Charles of Westenholz on 6th April. They have 3 sons and 5 grandchildren. Okay, so that's how we get back into the European shenanigans, and that's all that you can find on these people. But the youngsters are married into the presidential bloodlines in America. So Count Mark Henry Cosimo von Westenholz, born 8th January 1973, he married Melissa Sanders in 2005. They have 3 sons, and they still use the Otto of Otto Piso and the Ottoman Empire joke for Boris Johnson, because that is his claim that his dad is the famous journalist from Constantinople. Yeah. And his claim that he can be a representative or a loudmouth against every one of the great messianic religions that are totally fraudulent and were launched by the Piso family, yeah, in the Roman court in 79 AD when Vesuvius erupted onto their home. Okay, there's the mum again. I don't think there's much more to tell you, but there are many kids. Yeah, in China they force everybody to have only 2 kids so that global numbers will not spiral through the ceiling. Yeah, and we won't have to have another world war. Yeah, but with these families, all of them have dozens, and that then becomes the corrupted leaders of that mafia op that is now globalized. Right then, so Michael Andrew, this is Michael Ancram himself, yeah, Michael Andrew Foster Jude Kerr, yeah, Hey Jude for the Beatles, everything is a cover-up. 13th Marquis of Lothian, aka Michael Ancram, born 7th July 1945. He married Lady Jane Fitzalan Howard of Arundel. Doesn't say that, that is the Howards of Arundel, that is Howard in the Thomas Moore film, that is the Masters of the Horse, since the Masters of the Horse transited into England and took it over. Nickname Guillaume, yeah, God William. They have 2 daughters and 2 grandchildren. She's the woman that I met on their front doorstep by the River Teviot, where blind Prince George of Cumbria and Teviotdale was the only legitimate lover of Queen Victoria. It's the biggest Freemasonic joke the world has ever known, and I'm going to show you how Boris Johnson ties into those bloodlines. From Hanover, the Kings of Hanover, with all their massive holdings in London. Right, I've not got time to do every tab like this one, so I've shown you how we get back into Europe, how we spin it all around, how all of them become bastards in the Windsor lineage after the Windsors have changed their name from the Hanoverian roots that they used to use. Yeah, and that's Battenberg if you're in the indie camp movement and you make speeches to try and inflame people from there. Okay, this is Tony, Lady of Lothian, and we've done her extensively. She is part of the massive Jesus joke. Okay, at the wedding of her daughter, Lady Mary Kerr, to the banker Charles von Westenholz, she declared, that's the people that they marry into in her generation, all I need now is the parrot. Yeah, parroting back the Jesus story written by their friends the Pisos, yeah, who she was married to for a time in her life. In 1973, yeah, this is embarrassing for Michael, who's a mature man who brought down the Chinook helicopter, yeah, works on the official secrets committees, yeah, and is not allowed to talk about bringing down the Chinook helicopter with 29 commanders-in-chief that were in a position to end the Irish Troubles really early. Yeah, in 1973, when her son, the Conservative MP Michael Ancram, held his first public political meeting, she appeared in the hall with a white for death rosette bearing the words, "Vote for God." Yeah, she knows that there is a God, yeah, but that Jesus is a fraud. And Michael was embarrassed by her whole activity then, but he still became the MP for the Borders region, and he remained in the House of Lords until I started to reveal everything that he has done before that Chinook helicopter was crashed, when he was the Minister for Ireland. Absolutely ruthless. Next tab, Ralph Astor. I need to go quickly, yet this page below has Osborne and Cameron's links. This is Burkes Peerage again. It's Ralph Astor, Stella Inez Astor, and the links to the Cameron and Ancram brothers and sisters that are, I cannot find the fine details of that, but there is Peter Francis Walter Kerr, 12th Marquess of Lothian, and Loris Antonella, yeah, and their marriages again and again and again to the Fitzroys of Arundel. Yeah. Yeah, and that is Arundel, where they run the shareholding scams in the Christian religion fraud, which is why she makes this outlandish statements, because she is married to the von Nieperg family, that is the Piso relatives that were married forcibly to Napoleon's wives when he was still alive. Yeah, because he's no longer part of the money stream and he's in exile, if you believe it. That's the St. Helena joke, away next to America. Yeah, and there's links to the black lineages and Fitzroy, 11th Duke of Grafton, and the Astors are legendary millionaires, and some of them were alleged to be murdered in the run-up to the stealing of the Bank of England by the House of Rothschild. Okay, so I'm not sure why that was so important, but it is the Kerr bloodline, and it shows you that they are linked to Astor, and on the blocks there you find that they are also called Kerrsonbrock in their early German phase. Okay, that is the Brock for the Thurn Taxi company, for the Grey families of Scotland and the massive Grey families that run the massive castles on the Scottish border, and that is the Badger Cull jokes for all of the paid workforce that they have, that are the political activists who engage in all of those false events with the placards, and they just get their bung for that. That's the way we run the world now, by deception, instead of running it by integrity and by issuing the money to the democratically elected people. We now fudge all elections, and the media cover up the whole of this sordid world history. Okay, and there is Michael Ralph Kerr. He's the youngest son of Antonella, and John Walter Donald Peter Kerr. Okay, and there are 6 of them in all. One of them marries the legendary skiing families in the Alps, who are actually in Denmark, yeah, like the lovers of the current Rothschild dynasty. Okay, that did not last more than 2 years. Cameron's history is sordid. That's why his babies are grossly at risk. Okay, this is his history, and it is absolutely sickening. Okay, he is also in the bloodlines of the royal bastards. Okay, so Ancram's sister marries the head of Clan Cameron. Yeah, that's not the one who married the skier from the Alps. Yeah, and the Duffs are a sinister intertwined family, and that is PM Cameron is a Boris Johnson relative, and all is in the unelected mob right back to Cameronus in Naples and Rome when they were faking up the Bible. Okay, and that's why they are having the stillborn kids still, and why his son family redirected from Ian Cameron the stockbroker, okay, left to right, Enid Watson with Ian and Mary Cameron. Yeah, he's got a stick in his hand. Can you see it? A stick in his hand. Relatives of former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom David Cameron include members of the British royal family and aristocracy, as well as numerous others who pursued careers in the law, politics and finance. That's his brother, who I've covered, and his scams in getting legal aid for people that still steal more than £5 million. Yeah, and they're reliant on my corrupted wife to take all of my capacity to make high quality videos away. It's getting slightly better, yeah, but they are still out and out fascists, and every one of those families from Austria are still on the go, take my word for it, and all of them are the jokes, like Adele, which becomes, yeah, Edelweiss in The Sound of Music. Yeah, absolute piss take since the world began to have complicated media people that are prepared to tell lies through all of their lives. David Cameron is the youngest son of stockbroker Ian Donald. His wife, Mary Fleur, yeah, that's the Floors Castle, and the flowers being the translation for Piso through all of world history. When he was Cameronus in the Roman court, Boron Mount, a retired justice of the peace and second daughter of William Mount. Cameron's father Ian, this is a tragedy by God, yeah, everything is not accidental. Yet they now understand that, which is why he has resigned to try and get out of harm's way. Yeah, Ian was born with both legs deformed and underwent repeated operations to correct them. Cameron's parents were married in 1962. He was born in London and brought up in Peasmore, Berkshire. Everything with the letter P and the following letter, yeah, is the joke about the Piso family and the peso currency and everything that false religion represents. Yeah, which is why God gets back at them through all of that time. His father was born at Blairmore House near Huntly, Aberdeenshire, and died near Toulon in France on 8 September 2010. I nearly died in Huntly when I was fishing for sea trout. I fell between some rocks, and only my fishing basket and the gods saved me. The fishing basket lodged at the top of the crevice, and I was dangling, yet like someone who may have been the victim of one of God's accidents. But I was saved to continue with this campaign, and Huntly is where we rented a pyramidal shaped house, picked by my wife for obvious reasons. He has an elder brother, Alexander Cameron, and two sisters, Tanya, Rachel and Claire Louise, okay, born 1971 and 65. Right, so do you get it? The gods are onto everything they do, and everything they do is evil. Enid Levita Wright, paternal grandmother of David Cameron. This is the links to the aristocracy, okay? Cameron descends from King William IV, yeah, and when you look at who King William IV is, he is William Henry, King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and, just by chance, King of Hanover from 26 June 1830 until his death, the third son, yeah, of George III, and younger brother and successor to George IV. He was the last king and penultimate monarch of Britain's House of Hanover. Yeah, and that is why they have to change their names, and all of it is the same families that launched the Freemasons in Ireland, that launched the Freemasons in Scotland, and the Freemasons are already founded for almost 1,000 years in homeland Europe for them, and it's a massive mistake. So this is William IV of England, in inverted commas, and Hanover, third son of Mad King George, wee brother of the Master Mason of Scottish Irish Lodges and his mistress, who launched the lodges in Airdrie, yeah, and is the launch of the lodge all over Britain, and the links that I've told you about in the last video to the Kennedy family of Ailsa Craig. That's the Kennedys that become the world leading Illuminati mafias, yeah, and that is the Kennedys that killed their own son, John F. Kennedy, for trying to return the world's wealth to the world's countries, and the collateral gold that was stolen in World War II to those inept countries, all of whom are led by these mafias. Okay, so his mistress, William IV of England, in inverted commas, and Hanover, third son of Mad King George, was called Dorothea Jordan. Do you now see why Jordan gets her tits out? Why Joe Jordan makes offensive statements about women? Being linesman on the pitch where Romanov Rothschild actually stole the whole of Hearts. 10 kids, all of them are called Fitz-Clarence, are the ancestors of the legless stockbroker that was Cameron's dad. Dorothea Jordan, there she is. Lovely looking woman. Yeah, and there are links to that woman that I made the video about the other day in the naming of that person, but I don't have time for that. Yeah, that's Lady Dorian, the massive person. Do you know how Boris Johnson, how much he earned when he was just an MP? He got £550,000 a year, yeah, for being just an MP, because he writes columns that take 20 minutes to write, and he gets paid £5,000 per column. Yeah, that is the British press. He was the editor at the Telegraph. I'll take you back to all of that when we get to the bottom. Yeah, it's really sickening, the whole saga. Dorothea Jordan lived right up to the middle of World War I, 1916, was an Anglo-Irish actress, courtesan, and the mistress of King William IV of the United Kingdom. Okay, do you get it? That is the Boris Johnson ancestry from the female bloodline that is Ines, Enid, Agnes, Maud Levita. His maternal grandfather, Stephanie Levita, née Cooper, was the daughter of Sir Alfred Cooper and Lady Agnes Duff. Yeah, you remember Cooper the boxer? You remember Cooper the butcher of the American Indians? Do you remember Cooper the psychiatrist of the persecution of me and then the fuck off really quickly when I'm capable of arguing my way out of the pharmaceutical corner that they were going to have me murdered by? Okay, quickly, let's keep going. Yeah, it's really, really sick. These were the Lochiels when the butcher of Cumbria, yeah, Boris's relatives were actually killing all of the Stuart loyalists in the French Freemasons joke out of Europe, that is an ongoing revolution to get the Stuart bloodline back in charge. The Herzogs, yeah, I've told you that in several videos, were supposed to be the claimants for that. When I looked for the Herzogs' mansions, yeah, you can no longer find them because the joke is now coming out on that tab about the Austrian nobility. Herzog means duke. Yeah, and there are 20,000 of them roaming the world looking to steal more territory and more elite buildings from the ordinary punters that elect them, in inverted commas. General Sir James Duff, an army officer and MP for Banffshire, where Salmond comes from, in Scotland, in Aberdeen, yet in the late 1700s, who owned 202 slaves, is Cameron's first cousin, 6 times removed. That's slaving in the late 18th century, after you've culled the Scottish revivalist movement, to have a Scottish king or a Scottish queen, which we have never ever had. Yeah, and Boris went to Balliol College, Oxford, which was the example of the Scottish king from England and Yorkshire. His father Ian was senior partners of stockbrokers Panmure Gordon, estate agent John D. Wood, that's the obfuscation tool for John Wood of BP, who runs INEOS and all of the massive things that still get talked about in the Scottish labour movement's treason and desertion, because now everybody that is a union leader is picked to desert his members. Yeah, and I've met the people that represent INEOS, and I've met the people that represent Dave Prentice's Unison, yeah, in my hometown. Yeah, so and they are linked stunningly to the head. Cameron is a nephew of Sir William Dugdale. Keiza Dugdale is now the boss at Labour Scotland. Do you get it? All of them are bastard murderers, and they are ruthless mafia members, and that is what democracy has become. Keiza Dugdale is the head of okay, so Cameron is nephew. She's the head of Scottish Labour. Cameron is nephew of Sir William Dugdale, brother-in-law of Catherine Lady Dugdale, died 2004, former lady-in-waiting to the illegitimate Queen Elizabeth II, who is illegitimate since all of the bastards that were sired by the Rothschilds, yeah, through Queen Victoria's loins in the bigamous marriage to Albert, yeah, all of it is the same joke. I don't know what Aston Villa Football Club comes in, but that is another cover for the Dugdale family, besides being the revolutionary heads of Labour Scotland. Quite a plain looking woman. There she is. So I should not say that, I've never even met her. Yeah, so she is this socialist menace on the Austrian flag. Yeah, the hammer and sickle for socialism. Yeah, the Rothschild joke. Yeah, since fascism began in Austria and Germany and all of the Aryan Alpine master races. Yeah, and there's Alf Cooper and the Duff Coopers that are related to them and in the bloodlines. Through this union that Cameron was related to the royal family, he is 5th cousin once removed by bastardy, illegitimacy of Queen Elizabeth II. Yeah, none of that takes in the bastard elements of the Rothschild babies. It's the story officially as they would have us know it. Yeah, and they're on the Warg's ancestry site, like Elvis and the Rockefellers, yeah, and Bill Gates, and it's ever so easy to find them out. Obituary, Ian Cameron, yeah, I don't know if he was buried with his stick to help him get up the staircase to heaven. Next, Cameron, William IV, bastards. Okay, here's the Warg's site, and it takes you right back to the Levitas. That is the Levy and Macrae's. That is the joke about Peter Watson and all of the Chinook crashes, all of the remuneration of the people who planned that. That's Michael Ancram, yeah, who's married into the Austrian master races in the ski teams. Are you beginning to get it? Yeah, born Smythe, Fleur Mont Levita. The Smythes in this bloodline are the people that are the rapists. Smythe is the one who tried to rape Mirren, Braveheart's lover, yeah, when they had pronounced that prima nocte was going to be practiced on all of the ordinary people of Scotland. As Longshanks said, if we can't chase them out, why don't we breed them out? Yeah, Smythe is this creepy little guy. He died years ago, according to the literature, but his body double sent me out of Australia on my last trip, New Zealand, on my last trip out of New Zealand. Yeah, and he was the doorman at the hotel that I stayed in. Yeah, they think they're ever so clever and that none of this will ever be found out. Okay, next is the Wood-Hambro linkage, which I think I've already explained, but that takes you into the real estate empire, takes you into the Hambros, who have now, since I became a fraud researcher, been totally deleted from the internet. Jocelyn Hambro was the envoy to Norway when Norway was sold to Hitler Rothschild in World War II. Yeah, and that is all of the SOE out of Baker Street that has now been taken down off the social media totally. So this is the stunning news that made me do this research in the first place, because I've become aware that the Mortons of this region are actually the Douglas lineage, that is the Bucleu lineage, that are the Dukes of Bucleu and are Walter Scott's relatives. So this one, to close the circle, he's a lovely looking guy, a very civilised looking chap, and I know nothing about him. He may well be a civilised man. His dad was the one that I thought had been in Colditz, actually had a horsey accident, yeah, and ended up with both legs off in the wheelchair. Yeah, and that's my dad's greatest heroes, and all of his employees, yeah, they become legless too, and that is Mike Bigger's family. And Mike Bigger's dad was an amputee. He went to Colditz, but he's not now been taken off the list. Yeah, for shame. That is the people that run the Ednam House Hotel, the fascists. He, Alistair Brooks, yeah, the Brook Innsbruck joke, he was lucky to be in Colditz and to be from my hometown, runs the Ednam House Hotel, and he gets away with both legs on. Okay, portrait by Alan Warren. Yeah, the bunny ears joke. His spouse is Lady Elizabeth Kerr, Michael Ancram's daughter, married 1981. So can you see, if I point this camera out that sunlit window today, there is not a cloud in the sky. It takes me right into the heartland for the Morton families that are both sides of the Firth of Forth. Yeah, it's right either side of the new Forth Bridge, another massive scam and financial services fraud by the Scottish Government. Yeah, and this is his dad. Okay, do you get it? That's Lady Elizabeth Kerr, married 1981. John Scott, the Dukes and the ancestors of Bucleu. That's all over the free world. Yeah, their holdings are likely to be in Europe too, but I don't know anything about that, so I will not speculate on that. There's Sarah Montague, the reader of the news on Radio 4. It's Richard Walter, John Montague, Douglas Scott, 10th Duke of Bucleu. They are the Dukes of Queensberry, right next to the Forth Bridge. Do you get it? Yeah, and the Mortons that were Winston Churchill's private secretaries and the double agents in World War II, in Operation Winnie the Pooh and in Operation what was the young kid called? I forget the character that they named the other double agents. Okay, so this is Scott Bucleu, Douglas Morton, and it's the missing golf links, because the Mortons were the owners of the Dalmahoy Hotel. And it's my destiny to find that, because Dalmahoy means wig for a pharmacist, which I fit into nicely. Okay, let's stop getting too complicated to be explainable to the masses. So this is his dad. He's a nice looking guy, and Michael Ancram, apart from everything I've found out about him, is a smiley sort of chap, and he realises my power, which is why he used to come to the church in Kelso and the supermarket in Kelso, and every time he could, he wanted to cover himself from these massive crimes against the people and in the religion that his mum laughed at in his earliest political speech. Okay, so this is his dad. He's legless because he is the Piso horse joker, and he's not a nice looking guy at all. He's a bit like the relatives of some of the friends that I have in the village, which I cannot reveal the name of. Huge strapping bloke, only gets around on automated wheelchairs. John Scott, 9th Duke of Bucleu. Okay, so he fell off his horse, and that's the only bit I'll tell you. God gets them all in the end. I don't know if I've highlighted anything even. So he's the one that has Member of Parliament for Edinburgh North, Chancellor of the Order of the Thistle. That is what Mirren gets from Braveheart. Are you beginning to get the magnitude of their jokes? Lord Lieutenant of Roxburghshire. Roxburgh was the former capital of Scotland before they had to keep rebuilding the castle there. Yeah, that was run by the Douglases. That is this lineage. It's massive. It's all over Scotland. Lord Lieutenant of Selkirkshire. That's where I went to jail. That's where I went to court, in the squalid jails. Lord Lieutenant of Roxburgh, Ettrick and Lauderdale. Yeah? Succeeded by John Patterson with one T and Brown. Okay, Duke of Bucleu, Duke of Queensberry, just over the Forth. Yeah? And right next to the Ineos places for John Wood, and the places near the airport where they're now beginning to have attacks of poor breathing and breathlessness at the airport just the other day. Yeah, maybe false news. Chancellors of the Order of the Thistle. Okay, John Stuart Murray, Duke of Atholl, that's the Murrays of the Andy Murray treason. Douglas Graham, 5th Duke of Montrose. Henry Innes Kerr, 8th Duke of Roxburgh. Can you see how they're all intertwined? That's the Kerrs of Ancram. They are the distant relations of the Kerrs of Roxburgh. Yeah, they are in different places in Scotland, but they are all the same fucking family. Okay, and they are in Elphinstone, and the Ogilvies have now been sainted. They are in Chancellors of the Order of the Thistle under different kings. So Ogilvie becomes the Chancellor for that, for Elizabeth II. That's the Farmer frauds and the sainting of that lineage. Alec Douglas Home, Baron Home of Hirsel, is the Douglas lineage and the Douglas clan that is on that Morton 2 tab, and I told you about the other day. Yeah, all of them own the massive golf courses like Donald Trump owns Turnberry. I forgot to mention that in the last video. Yeah, that's AILSA Craig for the Kennedys, right opposite Turnberry Golf Course, owned by Donald Trump, who's just like Boris Johnson in his way he conducts his politics. So that's 45 minutes. Let's get a move on. Okay, this is Jane Scott, Duchess of Bucleu. This is relatively small, but I told you the other day that when I was a Celtic fan, Celtic beat Rangers, I watched it in Dalmahoy with the sun blazing down on me. Yeah, that's the Mortons heartland, and the Mortons in their castle, which is the ancient mansion, which is no longer used as the golf hotel. It's the place where they have the earliest version of the Piso Bible in Scotland, drawn by the monks from Monklands. That is the Airdrie joke, and that is the joke that becomes the earliest lodges out of Ireland and into Scotland in Airdrie. Monkston. Jane Scott, Duchess of Bucleu and Queensberry, she's married as a model to that massive man that spent his life in a wheelchair after falling off the Piso horse. Okay, was a fashion model for Norman Hartnell before marrying John Scott, Earl of Dalkeith, the future 9th Duke of Bucleu and 11th Duke of Queensberry, which is the Forth Bridge End. Okay, and there she is. She's a lovely woman, as you would expect a model to be. I don't know what her love life became when he was in the wheelchair, but she is the McNeil that was in the Celtic team in 1967 when they won the European Cup, with every one of the players being a treasonous Scot, or a profiteering Scot, or someone that was in goal. They had Simpson, my greatest hero, and they had a Johnson on the wing. Yeah, he died of motor neuron disease, and all of my heroes, yeah, when they desert me or I realise that they become evil, all of that becomes a continuing, repeating saga. Okay, so I found the evil McNeils in the Celtic team. She was the only child of John McNeil QC, and guess what? In the Monty Python's jokes, she was a Maynard, yeah, like the wine gums, and that's Brother Maynard in the hand grenade of Christianity religious jokes. Yeah, and Hart is in the village where the first coaching in. It's along the massive motorway between Glasgow and Edinburgh that keeps being rebuilt so that the politicians can keep having a money stream from it. And the directors of all of the corrupted companies that get the contracts have the same money streams. That's the Lord McAlpine jokes, and the death of local building initiatives. Thank you to the people in my safe house and in the pub for discussing that with me. You have to give bungs to the local councillors and the national politicians before you can have a private residence built. Yeah, you need their consent, and you need a cash bung. Clan Scott. Okay, so that's Billy McNeil of Celtic, and Kenny Dalglish was on the telly telling the whole world just a day ago how traumatised he was by the McNeils because they asked him to take a penalty when he was making his debut for Celtic. And he is the massive man that is Matheson Dalglish, that interlocks with the Hawkeys and the Irish Terror when Michael Ancram was in charge of the Irish Cabinet Office. Clan Scott. Okay, we're not going to get into Austria, and this is where the Scott family are. I've just showed you the nice man who was the son of the man in the wheelchair. So they are Baron Montague of Beaulieu, Battle of Melrose, that is New Battle, that is Pathhead, that is Dalkeith, Botton House, Duke of Bucleu, Earl of de Lorraine, Bowhill House in Selkirk, Drumlandrick Castle near Peebles, Dalkeith Palace, Princess Alice, Duchess of Gloucestershire. These are the celebs that come out of their loins. Anne Scott, 1st Duchess of Bucleu, John Scott, 9th Duke of Bucleu, Charles Montague Scott, Claude Andrew Montague Douglas Scott, Edward Douglas Scott Montague, and on and on and on and on, and hyphen and hyphen and hyphen, and all of them trade under the Clan Douglas website. Thank you to the beautiful Douglases who are ever so talented, yeah, and romantic in my town for folk singing, yeah, for not stabbing me in the back and treating me like a friend until I was cast from my town. Yeah, ever so talented family, and they've been watching me ever so closely because they realise my goodness and my power, and everything that has happened to their colleagues who fell off the ladder in Jehovah's Witnesses, who I first met on the bus in Dalkeith. Right then, so Austrian nobility. This is the telling story that the whole of what happened in 1919. Yeah, so outlawed 1919. Let's see if we've got a little story to tell on that. Okay, it's just a series of pictures, I think. So there's a series of pictures of the current people that represents the bloodlines that were absolutely told never to come together again after World War I. I forget what the reparations were. I think it was Versailles, for irony. The Treaty of Versailles, yeah, that's the world-owning icon place where Alistair Brooks, that was in Colditz, claims that he is a relative of the Bourbons, yeah, and Marie Antoinette, and the Austrian Emperor in the Mozart movie proclaims that his sister was Antoinette. Okay, so the Kinskis are one of the leading ducal families in Austria in 1919. That is Natasha Kinski in the Paris, Texas film, which I went to with my girlfriend, who was called she was called Schneider, yeah, and all the cover-ups out of Hollywood since. I dated the girl Schneider and nearly died in the car accident at Belgium, where Longshanks signed the treaty that meant Scotland could never be free. Yeah, so the Schneiders are in the ducal listings too. Okay, there is the Palace Kinski in Vienna. Look at it, massive pile, massive jokes. Yeah, about what Hollywood does, and the Herzogs who make the movies with these people in it. That's Klaus Kinski, her dad. Yeah, they are actually the Austrian nobility joke, like Edelweiss, Adele in the interlocks with Rothschild even now. This is Wilhelm Gauss Hofball in Vienna. They're dancing, yeah, to celebrate the Hofburg Imperial Palace, painted by William Goosestepper, 1900. Yeah, this one is Ludwig von Mises, Edler von Mises, nice looking mafia boss. Yeah, a bit like the one they went to visit. Here we've got Elizabeth Clary Aldringen. All of these are massive ancestral families. Elizabeth Alexandrine de Fickelmont, Princess von Clary, and Aldringen. All is clear, yeah, for the houses in Isha, yeah, that hosted the Rothschilds and Queen Victoria. And her daughter, that's Clermont, Edme, Count de Robelant, and Seraglio. You get the Seraglio joke now in the song, in the politically incorrect movies. Seraglio is a brothel. Yeah, that's the Mozart joke as they are in the Viennese capital. Yeah, and his dad comes out of Salzburg, where the massive emperors' palaces, and they are not just emperors of their own country, they are emperors, and that is the Mozart Amadeus Seraglio ballet scenes that I watched in the movie last night. And the Masons have an alternative form of Hollywood output which they call a director's cut, and that means that in that version the woman gets her tits out on screen. Yeah, when I took Nadine to see that movie, everything that I'm sent to see by God is massive jokes on world history. This is Countess Isabella Esterhazy. They were claimants not only to dukedoms, but they were claimants to be the queens at some time. Esterhazy de Galanta. Lovely peacock hat, the all-seeing eye for the peacock tail crashed into deathly white ornaments on her hat. Here we've got Countess Draskowicz and Prince Ferdinand von Erzberg, the leading bloodlines that are still, they number 20,000 people. Some of them are still in exile and are claiming that they are being persecuted for what happened in World War I. All of them have massive piles, which is why the Herzogs' palaces, the claimants to the Stuart throne, have now been taken down off the internet. There's young Countess of the Schönborn family. Yet all of them are now on pi interest, dating the Rockefellers, dating Prince Harry, and all of them are friends of those people that make the it struck me that the people that were the friends of Michael Ancram and on the ski slopes, they are now the playboys out of Denmark and dancing and flirting with every eligible king around our world, and they're still bleating about what they got taken away for running World War I, in the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, young Countess of the Schönborn family, Countess Marietta Silva Taruca with her daughters. Pi interest all the way to the back. Look, here's Count Alexander Kaulau-Rat. There's a rat in the kitchen for Ali G. Sasha Kaulau-Rat. Okay, Baron Alphonse de Rothschild. He's got a stately manner. He looks like a principled person. They could be the world's most heroic family when they come on side with me. Young Nathan, I hope you're listening to this. You have no way of calling me now. Thank you for asking for my home number before I was exiled by your police mafias from my hometown of Kelso, which was the capital city of Scotland. Even the Time team told the truth about that when they visited. Alphonse von Rothschild. Baron Alphonse, stripped of his title after World War I. Here we've got the Countess Clam Gallas. That's the pearls out of the clams, and the clam shells being the currency for Magellan and the Habsburgs as they sailed in the 3 ships that go sailing by on false Christmas Day in the morning. Countess Gabriel Clam Gallas and Adolf Prince von Orsberg, right couple. Okay, and there is the current Archduke Karl of Austria. Do you get the Archduke joke? That's the killing by the Rothschilds of the Archdukes for real, so that they could be rid of them and they could take us into World War I. They could take over the issuance of money in Vienna. And he is Prince Imperial of Austria, Prince Royal of Hungary, Croatia and Bohemia, where Boris Johnson also claims to have his gene pool. This one looks much more mature than Boris Johnson, but that is just a guess by me. Do not take that too seriously. Okay, and these are the people that are the Dukes and Duchesses of Lothlorien are the Habsburg claimants to the throne. That is the scenes in Lothlorien in the Lord of the Rings piss take, yeah, featuring that woman Kate Blanchett and this woman who is the massive Coldplay religious joke, almost as massive as the whole of the Pilgrim Fathers themselves. That is the fact that these people now are laughing at the Christianity fraud, which is the biggest cause of death in world history. Okay, here we've got a mafia man, yeah, and I wish I'd put this one up on the starting scenes with the music. This is Karl, 12th Prince zu Schwarzenberg. That means Black Borough. Yeah, and he is a dead ringer for the first Godfather. Yeah, played by Marlon Brando, the cover for Brandeis, who's on one of the other tabs, and is actually in the Austrian nobility. Yeah, extended World War I by 2 years, thanks to the coercion of President Woodrow Wilson, yeah, who went to Princeton, and the royal joke is all through this. America never has a king, but it's still owned by the Queen in Windsor, yeah, which was owned, yeah, like Buckingham Palace, by the German monarchs that we're telling you about in this sordid, sick story. Okay, so the Austrian nobility. Let me take you to the top of that tab, and then I'll take you to the highlighted tabs, and I might finish without having a conscience. Okay, it's an endless list of names that are so commonplace it's incredible. Yeah, that's Helen Hirsch on the name listings. That was Schumacher on the name listings. There's Henry VIII and the von Holbeins that are the aristos in Austria right into 1919. The Bremner, von Brenner families and the links to Bremner in my sister's home village, and the links to the Oliphants, who were ever so friendly to me before I left, in the Episcopalian Church, the most powerful in the world. Balrog von Mankelbuch and the Balrog in the Lord of the Rings film. A list of untitled nobility. It's endless. Watch the pictures flash past, and I'll show you some of the highlights. Oh, have you heard of the Wesley Woods that fought in the Battle of Waterloo? Yeah. Later, Freiherr in the Austrian nobility, like Rothschild. Emperors of Austria still. Interpol, the Selekis, and that is Jackie Celebi, who led Interpol out of corrupted South Africa. There's the Schneiders and my lover, who almost died with me in the car crash. Yeah, the Austrian nobility, which is why she came to Paris with me to have a laugh, and they did not think I would get far on my role as the person who's been forsworn to take on this job. There's von Rumplers and the European Union equivalent of that. Pellendorfs, yeah, the Pele of football and the Pele of the Arthurian legends. The von Millers and Archbishop Miller in World War II, helping him launder all of the Nazis out through the Canary Islands, which is why he has the canaries on his finger. There is the von Merkel lineages out of Austria and what they now do. Okay, so let me show you who else was outlawed. This is a famous one, Dietrich Stein. Yeah, have you heard of Dietrich in world history and Hollywood? Have you heard of Stein, the chef who my wife used to watch as an obligation? Moravian Protestants into the back room in World War II. Yeah, and she left I can't remember whether she was there right at the beginning of the war or whether she was one of the people that went through the border control in 1942. Yeah, like vast numbers of them were allowed to do. Moravian Protestants into the back room, Marlene Dietrich, and they are related to the Eisenhowers on the family tree. Yeah, that's Ike Eisenhower, the Mo and Ike jokes, the jokes about Judaism and Christianity that are the biggest cause of death in the Polish death camps. Okay, they come actually from Corinthia in the Bible. Corinthians, do you get it? Everything is the Piso Bible, and they are the Nichols and the Nicholsons that were my bosses and my totally treasonous people who sacked me at Otago University for raising my departmental profile to being the best in the medical school on 3 campuses, one of which is Wellington's Battle of Waterloo. That's Wellington, yeah, being part of the University of Otago. And I've just shown you that he is now deeply ensconced in the Austrian nobility. Right then. So, there's Dietrich Stein Castle in the Duchy of Carinthia. Let's keep going in case I don't get in. Here's the Kerrsonbrock joke on somebody's family tree. The family name of Karl Habsburg's father was declared to be Habsburg Lothringen by an Austrian ministerial decision in 1957 and by a German court. Otto was, however, at the time de facto stateless, living in Germany with a Spanish diplomatic passport. Otto's official name as a German citizen from 1978 was Otto van Habsburg. That's Otto Piso and the Ottoman Empire, and there are the relatives: Countess Clara Marie von Korff, General Schmisching Kerrsonbrock, that's the Kerr's sons, and the Brocks that are the Thurn and Taxi families that are the launches of the yellow taxis and the snitches against what the customers are saying. Count Alfred von Korff, General Schmisching Kerrsonbrock. Yeah, so that is Michael Ancram and that is Guy Innes Kerr's ancient relatives in their homeland of the Aryan master race. Next, Boris and the others. Okay, so they are in the bloodlines, and this is quite sickening. Okay, so they're Austrian relatives, they've got the alpine skiing connections, and they are fucking connected to George II of Great Britain. His father, British Stanley Johnson, was studying economics at Columbia University in New York. He was born in Manhattan in New York, and he was immediately given dual citizenship. This is Boris Johnson now. Mixed English and French descent, that's his family. He's Circassian Turkish journalist Ali Kemal was his dad on the paternal side. On the maternal side, he's a royal. Mixed English and French descent, and descendant of King George II of Great Britain. Okay, there's George II, George Augustus, German Georg II, October 1683 to 1760, was King of Great Britain and Ireland, Duke of Brunswick, Lüneburg, Hanover, and Prince Elector of the Holy fucking Roman Empire, all the way up the Austro-Hungarian Danube river valleys, and right away across into where the hand grenade of Antioch came from, which is still the victim of terror attacks by the Christian leaders, and that is Aleppo that Donald and Hillary are all riled up about. And this one is the father of Prince William, the Duke of Cumberland, who massacred the Stuart rebellion people at the Battle of Culloden. Does not get more evil. This is Boris Johnson's relatives from Germany, claiming now the throne of Britain, which they hold right through till the Saxe-Coburgs, demeaned by Albert, who they murdered. Yeah, that's Albrecht, and that is the massive jokes about the Stuart dynasty and Scotland never ever having a king in its own country because of the Salic laws. Yeah, and what they are not allowed to do in Germany, they're allowed to do all over the rest of Europe. Yeah, that is, take someone else from that indigenous country and make them the queen and get married into them and then sire all the rest of the children, unless you've got the consanguinity index that they die, yeah, in the birthing chamber. Yeah, and that's what happened to George VI, and that's why his Danish wife was sent back to Denmark and he was replaced by the Queen Mother, who loved to drink the gin from the downstairs sector. Johnson has described himself as a one-man melting pot with a combination of Muslim, Jews, Christians as great-grandparents. It's true, and he's so politically incorrect that he and Donald together may well be the cause of human extinction. In February 1966 they relocated to Washington, where Stanley, his dad, had gained a job with the World Bank. A third child, Leo, was born in 1967. Charlotte took up the painting, for which she would become publicly known. Stanley then gained employment with a policy panel on population control. Princess Anne prefers gas in that sector. In June, moving the family to Norwalk, Connecticut. They live in Paddy Ashdown's house. No, sorry, he was educated there. Studied at Ashdown House. Ever so posh. Okay, in late 1971 another son, Joe Johnson, was born to the family. Yeah, and he's now into politics, and my friends predicted that he would be the next Prime Minister after David Cameron, yeah, but Boris is now surging ahead. Yeah, they were employed, his dad, at the European Commission, and he's the one that is the front man for bringing us out of the European Commission. Do you see how treasonous the whole of their lifespan and their ancestry is? Charlotte, I think that's his mother, moved into the flat in Notting Hill when the movie is made about everything that he is doing in his regime, and it then becoming a joke about Rebecca Brooks getting the remuneration for it. Upon finishing his time at Eton, Johnson went, listen to this, on a gap year to Australia, where he taught English and Latin at Geelong Grammar, an elite independent boarding school. There it is. And those Tory blue colours, yeah, the azure blue for Rothschild, that's Prince Charles going there to meet the pupils. He went there as a pupil himself. There are no pictures of him with Rupert Murdoch, who also attended the Geelong school, and Boris, for a laugh, was one of the selected teachers who worked there for a year as a lecturer and a teacher to the world's elite families, and many of the Arabs who could not quite afford to go to the school on Lake Geneva, that is La Rosie School, that when he was the editor of the Spectator, earning £530,000 a year, they refused to release the news that that Bin Laden and Al Fayed's son, who dated Lady Diana, who was his murdered wife, yeah, that they went to La Rosie School in Switzerland, like Kaiser Bill and the Rothschilds. And that is the pictures of Rupert Murdoch stringently not being in the same photograph as Prince Charles, because they're on the same boards for the Future of Russia Foundation. Right then, so all their children represent them there with George Osborne. Okay, so he's a Bullingdon boy, he is an Etonian, and all of the schoolboy tricks that he gets up to. He's a rugby man, there he is, with the Geelong School icons on the other parts of the story, and there's the Australian flag, and he, as a buffoon, is able to teach Prince Charles and the likes how they can act as buffoons for the rest of their life. Okay, there is, yeah, so he's then moved on to Oxford, like all of the other fascists in our world, and studied classics at Balliol College, Oxford, and that is the joke for Scotland about Scotland having its first king after King Robert I being Balliol, King of Scotland, picked by Longshanks, and that is the Balliol of Yorkshire Scottish king joke, because Longshanks picked him just before he died by the roadside in Cumbria. Yeah, not an accident, and that is Longshanks, and his son is the joke about the media man that is Piers Morgan, because the Piers guy was the Poof that was his son, and he may well have sired the bloodlines that go missing at that point. Yeah, it is absolutely treasonous. So I'm going to show you now the Austrian nobility jokes. I will not get through it. And the able danger, look up Masters of the Revels, and you will see that all of them are coercing, all of them are kidnapping, all of them are killing. And when you read Boris Johnson's story on Wikipedia, all of the names of the murder victims are discussed in buffoonish articles, yeah, that are covers for what Snowy Cameron, what Rebecca Brooks, what the wives of Boris Johnson do, yeah, and Boris Johnson and all of his massive income, he is linked to the Barclay scams, he is linked to the London Olympics contract, all of the profiteering, all of the failure to deliver the security there, and the stealing of all of the money. So there's a massive list of Edelweiss jokes. Yeah, and you've got the Dukes of Wellington on the Austrian Emperor's saga, and you've got Marlene Dietrich, yeah, and being the aristocrats out of Austria. Okay, the Australian nobility, German, Österreicher, Adel, yeah, do you get it there? Adel is a status group that was officially abolished in 1919 after the fall of Austro-Hungary. Edelweiss, there's the Edelweiss flower, and the Sound of Music and the Von Trapps are in the lineages, as you would expect. The nobles are still part of Austrian society today, but they no longer, yeah, for a laugh, retain any specific privileges. Yeah, they just get to marry Prince Harry and the likes. Austria's system of nobility was very similar to Germany's. See, German nobility, as both countries were previously part of the massively corrupted Holy Roman Empire that creates every massive mission, every massive crusade, yeah, and every massive religious war, including World War I and World War II, in that Austro-Hungarian region that they own. Bohemian, Hungarian, Polish, Croatian. Boris is part of all of that. He proclaims that proudly. Nobilities in the Habsburg dominions. Yeah, that's the Habsburgs that funded the takeover of Venezuela and Latin America. From Galicia, for instance, such as the Count Jordan Rodzowski could call himself a Polish noble, but he also rightfully belonged to the Austrian nobility. Yeah, like the people on the German-Dutch border who changed sides right in the middle of World War II, then become Eisenhower's chosen people to make the settlements at the end of the war. That is Bernhard of the Netherlands. The Palace Kinski in Vienna, belonging to the princely Kinski family. Do you get it? She's the prostitute in Paris, Texas movie, is one of the most outstanding pieces. That is Herzog, and my attempt to find the Herzog mansions. Werner Herzog is the filmmaker who makes the jokes about taking ships to the top of the mountain, and there is the Archbishop of Salzburg, yeah, in the Mozart film about the pompous boss that employed Mozart, yeah, and the Freemasons eventually had him killed. And Mozart himself, on the list of famous Freemasons, is now a Freemason. Holy Roman Emperor, an office which was almost interruptedly held by the Archduke of the House of Habsburg, the money lenders for the takeover of Latin America, yeah, from 1438 to 1806. Within the court, a close inner circle called the 100 Familien possessed enormous riches and lands. There is the Emperors of Austria. Yeah, he got his in 1992 when my son was just a year old, and we visited sectarian Ireland, and all of the lodges, they still pretended that they were enemies of my wife because of her English accent. Yeah, and he is now the resident at He is now the resident. No longer is he the Holy Roman Emperor, but he is the resident in Wadsden, where they have Jesus' holy relics. Jesus never lived. Yeah. Some of the noble families in the Herrenhouse of Cis-Lithuania, House of Lords. That is the Herrenhouse.